Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is gzduel, and I'm here today to bring you guys my zombie deck profile for January 2014. I really like it because, well, I say that about every deck I play, don't I? That I really like it, but I especially like this one because it has a lot of things that you can do with it. You can make some very explosive plays. You can make some very preserved, conservative plays. You can also get yourself out of a lot of situations based on the utility you can get access to in your extra deck. It's just an all-around very solid deck. Other decks that you might play might seem kind of one-dimensional. You know, all you do is do this, all you do is do that. For example, all you do for the Bujin archetype is if you just tank with one monster, it seems kind of boring, but with this, you really get to play with a lot of different monsters. So let's go into the deck. For the monsters, we have one Dark Arm Dragon because he's really good, 3 Malicious because you need 3 in order to utilize this effect effectively, 1 Endless Decay. You only need 1 because you can always search it out with the effect of Pyramid Turtle, and you only want 1 because after you use it in the early game, you always want to use it in the early game when your opponent's life points are high. In the late game, it really doesn't do much for you. Plus, it's a level 5, so you probably can't summon it out very easily. 3 Zombie Masters. I like Zombie Master because it's a dark level 4, so you know you can go into other things like the Master Key Beetle. That's one thing. Second thing is it has a really strong effect in this deck, especially when you have Zombie World. You have a lot of access to things. You can use this to get back a Greffer if you want, if you have Zombie World. You can use this, discard a Malicious, bring back a Plague Spreader Zombie, and then use Malicious's effect, so you get a free Plague Spreader Zombie on the field, so that's really good. Plus, it's just a thing you can revive with Mizuki. You know, all of a sudden, when you have no plays, you have Mizuki in the grave, and you also have like Zombie Master in the grave, and you draw into whatever monster. You can just use Mizuki, bring back Zombie Master, and all of a sudden you have a play. And I just really like the versatility of this card. Okay, so 2 Dark Greffer because it helps you mill into everything. You have a lot of darks to discard, including the Zombie Master and the Endless Decay if you happen to draw it, and you can always just set up your graveyard to a point where you can have a Malicious and maybe multiple Plague Spreader Zombie. I only play 2, I don't play 3 because I can always search it out with the Reinforcement Army, and also you don't need more than 3 because there's not that many things to discard. You just really want to get into it early, but if you don't get into it early, it's still fine because you have other things to help you tank for stuff. So 3 Mizuki, also one of the most versatile effects. With the addition of Zombie World, Mizuki has the really cool effect of just reviving whatever monster in the grave. So if you happen to have a Void Ogre Dragon, which I think is a dragon monster, and if it happens to die in the graveyard while you have a Zombie World, you can just remove Mizuki and just summon back the Void Ogre Dragon from your graveyard. It's that strong, and really like it. It has solid stats, 1700 attack, level 4. You can make some XYZ plays, and it's just a good monster. And 3 Pyramid Turtle. I like 3 Pyramid Turtle because it can help me get into all of these zombie monsters right here, the Mizuki, the Plague Spreader Zombie, but mostly you want to go for Zombie Master if not for Endless Decay. The first Pyramid Turtle should always go for Endless Decay, ideally when your opponent has full life points, so that you can have a 4000 attack Endless Decay. So it's a really good card to have, plus it's a level 4, so if it happens to be in the graveyard, if you have a Zombie Master, you can discard whatever monster, revive it, and therefore go into a rank 4 XYZ monster. 2 Plague Spreader Zombies. I opted to only play 2 instead of 3 because there's no way you're going to use 3, and plus with the addition of 3 Mizukis, you're going to revive your Plague Spreader Zombie like very easily. You won't run out of Plague Spreader Zombie. In addition, later on, you know, you'll see that I play Burial from a different dimension, so you can always just recycle back your Mizuki plus your Plague Spreader Zombie, so you don't necessarily need 3. If you have 3 and you happen to draw into like all 3 of them in your opening hand, you're kind of dead. So to avoid that problem and in order to use it as effectively as possible, I think 2 is the perfect number. Okay, for spells, we have 1 Allure Darkness because there are a lot of things you can banish that is dark that you might not need. So if you already use the effect of Greffer, you don't need the second one, you draw into it, you can use this. If you draw into Endless Decay, you want to get rid of it, you can use Allure Darkness. You have an extra Zombie Master, you can use Allure Darkness, etc. You use Reinforcement of the Army to get Greffer. I know it's kind of one-dimensional, but I really like it anyways. It helps stabilize the deck, and rather than running 3, I want to use the Reinforcement of the Army because it shrinks the deck rather than add an extra copy. Dark Hole, obviously. Foolish Barrier, obviously. 3, Pot of Duality. This deck is kind of slow in the early game. It may not be always so if you draw if you draw well enough, but usually it is, and you probably want this duality in order to get you into whatever setup that you need, whatever piece that you need. Plus, your turn 1 preferred move is always to set Pyramid Turtle. Hopefully, your opponent will attack into it, and then you go into Endless Decay. 3, Mystical Space Typhoon, very needed because your opponent has like face up spell traps that you don't want to deal with. Things like I don't know, things like DNA Surgery, things like Vanity's Emptiness, Soul Drain, stuff like that you want to get rid of. The Book of Moon, 1 Foolish from the one Barrier from the Different Dimension, 3 Zombie Worlds. Zombie Worlds is a very, very good card in this format. It helps you lock down a whole bunch of things. It hinders a lot of the plays that different decks can make if they depend on the monster's type. So, for example, I guess you can't go in, like if your opponent's playing Cyber Dragons, they can't go into the fusion stuff. They can't use the Cyber Dragon to fuse into Fortress Dragon. If your opponent is playing, I don't know, say Boojins, you know, the things that the other Boojin stuff, the hand traps, the ones that activate from the graveyard won't synergize very well. If you're facing against Prophecy, if they don't have the Spellbook Tower to replace it, you know, it turns Prophecy monsters into zombies, so a lot of their spellbooks don't work. As well as maybe finally against Fire Fist. Fire Fist, you know, their synergy with the Beast Warrior type might get hindered. They won't get the attack boost. They can't use some of their traps on their Fire Fist monsters. It's just a whole lot of cool things you can do with Zombie World. Plus, it has the effect that your opponent cannot tribute summon, except for tributing summoning for tributing a zombie monster. So you know it comes in handy when you're like facing things like Frog Monarchs as well. So for the traps, we have one Bottomless, 1 Compulse, 2 Vanity's Emptiness. I think it's very necessary, especially because in your extra deck you have like Stardust Spark Dragon, which just like really goes very well with the Vanity's Emptiness. If not that, you can also go for Master Key Beetle. Vanity's Emptiness is a very strong move. 2 Phoenix Train, I really like this card, and 1 Solemn Warning. For the extra deck, we have 1 Beals, I don't know how to pronounce it, Beals, King of Dark Dragons, a really good card. 3000 attack, 3000 defense. It requires a Dark Tuner monster, and yeah, and it has 3000 attack, 3000 defense. It won't get destroyed by card effect or by battle, which is kind of dumb. And it has a cool effect. If your opponent has like a monster that's higher attack than it and you take damage with this card, or if you take damage from an effect, you can also add that damage that you've taken into this guy's attack. So it's really beefy. Void Ogre Dragon, MVP, Crimson Belator, sometimes necessary. Scrap Dragon helps you out of like problem situations. Stardust for blanket protection. Stardust Spark Dragon for particular protection. HTS for monster removal. You can get into this very easily because you have Zombie Master. Level 6s are not a problem. Also, Doom Kaiser Dragon. This might be kind of situational because you can only use this effect effectively when you activate Zombie World, but you can steal some really good monsters from your opponent, and it comes in handy sometimes. Vulcan the Divine, very good. Level 4 XYZ, we have 1 Gemini Pearl. 2600 attack is what you depend on. You can get over Ophion, hopefully. If not, you know, you have other stuff to deal with it as well. You have, for example, the SH Arc Knight. And you also have 1 copy of the Master Key Beetle, 1 copy of the Maestroke, the Symphony de Jin, 1 Lavalval Chain. You go into this a lot. I wouldn't recommend running more than 1 because there's not really that many things to discard, and 1 Gaga Cowboy to finish off games. For the side deck, I thought long and hard, and this is what I came up with. It may not be very optimal because the decks that I've been testing against on DevPro these days are very random decks that are not very meta. I've not met like a lot of things. Like I've not met for a long time Girgia Karakuri. I've not met Prophecy for a long time, except for that one that I showed you guys yesterday. That player wasn't even good, and I've not even met Boojin players. Usually I just play against people who want to play Madojes. I guess that's kind of meta and stuff like that. So this is what I have based on like a lot of theory. So for for the monster, we have 2 Santa Claus, very good card. I've already trumpeted its virtues. If you don't know what it does, it's a really good card. You should check it out. It's a really good generic monster removal. I have 1 Black Winged Dragon. It's not a bad card to side deck. I wouldn't go into it normally. I would go into it if I was facing like a rogue matchup when I have to face like a burn deck. It might come in handy. It's just something to think about. 2 Twisters, because I recognize that the opponent second turn, my second duel, my set, my side in things like Vanity's Emptiness and stuff like that. You want to deal with that. Plus, if you're facing like a Prophecy matchup and the only thing you recognize, the only thing that'll stop your zombie world is like a face up field card, then you might want to play Twister to get rid of that. It might help. As well, 3 XYZ Encore against Evil Swarm, because Ophion's kind of a pain for this deck to deal with. 2 Spell Shattering Arrows just for the added factor against the Fire Fist with their face-up spell and traps. As well, you can get rid of Madoches. They have Ticket, they have the Chateau. You want to get rid of that stuff as well. And for anything else you think might help. The third Vanity's Emptiness, because Madoches, I really don't like the Madoches when I'm facing against them. They just special summon too much. With the Angeli, is kind of annoying to deal with. In addition, you want to just stop special summoning in general. It's just a good idea to run 3 Vanity's Emptiness. 2 Light Imprisoning Mirror, because I recognize that the Thunder family is pretty good, actually. I might do that. I might revisit that deck for this format. There's also like Boojins. Their effects are like light monster effects. It helps a lot against Constellars as well, so it's not a bad card to side deck. And finally, we have 2 Mind Drains, because you don't run anything that activates in a hand. You don't have like any hand traps, but you're afraid of people who do use hand traps. Prophecy, they have like monsters they summon, the dragon rulers, if they can still play, and a lot of stuff activates from the hand, so it's just a really good card to side in. Okay, any questions, feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. I really enjoyed playing this deck. It's kind of a shame for me to just like stop playing decks after I do them for a week. Kind of get attached to them sometimes, but really it's all in good fun. I get to move on to something new. But if you have any questions about this deck, please feel free to drop it in the comment section down below. I will answer them to the best of my ability. And this is Gary GZ Duels signing out.